When we think of protecting wildlife, our minds conjure up images of park rangers on foot patrol, armed with little more than binoculars and a whistle. But times are changing. The next generation of conservation looks a lot like the future of warfare, except instead of fighting humanity's battles, it's fighting for nature's. Drones have long been in use by wildlife protection agencies. They provide an aerial vantage point that helps spot poachers and other illegal activities. Even some first-world countries still rely on rudimentary drones that are mostly just flying cameras. But as drone technology advances, so too can their capabilities. In South Africa, for example, a company called Drone Shield has developed an autonomous drone system to protect endangered black rhino. These surveillance drones fly fixed patrol routes, recording everything they see. They can even land, replace batteries, and take off again, all without human assistance. And if they come across a threat, they can be pre-programmed to respond in different ways. One option is to simply fly straight at the threat, forcing it to stop and move away. Another is to fly around the target, creating a barrier between it and the rhino. Should the threat get too close, the drone can initiate a water cannon function to spray the poacher, startle them enough to flee. Of course, these robotic defenders also serve as a surveillance tool, providing rangers with eyes in the sky to watch over their domain. According to one report, the success rate of anti-poaching patrols increased from 30% to 80% when drone technology was added to the mix. That might not sound like much, but it's actually a huge improvement, given that anti-poaching patrols were basically hit or miss before this. These robotic sentries don't always work. In 2019, a group of thieves stole 2 of these Rhino Guardian drones, but that's hardly the point. You don't use a single line of defense to keep an enemy out. Just as an army uses a combination of weapons and strategies, conservationists will have to do the same. Drones are just one new high-tech tool being deployed in the war on poaching. In India, anti-poaching efforts are aided by specially trained elephants. These elephants are trained to detect the scent of tigers and leopards, and then lead their mahout, which is the Hindi word for elephant rider, to the cat so it can be monitored and its territory respected. In some cases, Indian anti-poaching forces have used DNA phenotyping to track down the sources of ivory. By comparing the DNA of seized ivory with that of elephant populations, scientists can pinpoint which areas need to be protected or patrolled more frequently. But not all high-tech solutions are so focused, are designed to impact an entire ecosystem. For instance, one solution to the problem of aging coral reefs is to make more baby coral. That's easier said than done, because the sex life of corals is complicated. Not only are there over 600 species of coral, each with their own reproductive cycle, but the process itself requires a delicate balance of temperature and chemistry. Scientists are now trying to solve this problem with an underwater nursery. The Coral Vita Farm is located in the Bahamas, and it uses a network of floating, brightly colored tubes that are suspended just below the ocean's surface. Here, fragmented coral is grown in a controlled environment where its growth can be carefully monitored and tweaked. Once the coral reaches a certain size, it's transplanted onto a purpose-made structure on the seafloor, where it's left to grow until it's ready to be out into the wild. It's too early to tell whether this method will save the world's coral reefs, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. Meanwhile, another group of scientists is taking a different approach to the problem of coral reef decline. Instead of mass-producing coral, they're mass-producing fish. Specifically, they're farming a type of fish that's known for its voracious appetite for algae, an animal called the orbicular sea bream. If they can produce enough of these fish, they can introduce them into polluted waters where they'll gobble up the algae, cleaning the water for the coral to thrive once more. So far, we've focused on how high-tech solutions can help protect existing wildlife and ecosystems. But what about newly engineered ones? The idea of designer animals sounds like science fiction, but it's already happening in labs around the world. One recent example is the creation of a self-destruct beetle. This insect, which was created in Australia, has been engineered to carry out a single task, finding and destroying the nests of invasive fire ants. When the beetle finds a suitable nest, it crawls inside, releases a lethal chemical, and then dies. In effect, this tiny insect is a one-way ticket to insect hell. So far, these beetles have proven effective against fire ants, helping to protect local wildlife and ecosystems from further damage. Another example of designer animals can be found in the UK, where scientists have engineered mosquitoes that are resistant to malaria. This breakthrough could save thousands of lives every year and eliminate one of humanity's oldest scourges. Both of these examples involved insects, but researchers are working on other types of designer animals too. For example, scientists in China have recently created pigs that are resistant to African swine fever. This deadly virus has been ravaging pig populations around the world and is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of millions of pigs. If these genetically modified pigs prove successful, they could help protect global food supplies from future outbreaks. As you can probably tell, the ethics of creating designer animals are complex and controversial. But one thing is for sure, we've only begun to scratch the surface of what's possible. With more research and development, we may one day be able to create animals that can help us solve some of our biggest environmental challenges. We've taken a look at a few examples of high-tech measures being taken to protect wildlife. But none of these come close to the potential of smart collars. We're not talking about your standard dog collar here, but a sophisticated piece of technology that can help conservationists monitor and protect endangered species. The possibilities are really endless with this tech, but let's look at a few examples of how it's being used today. One application of smart collars is in tracking the movement of animals. By attaching a GPS collar to an animal, conservationists can track its movements over time. This data can be used to create maps of an animal's home range, which can then be used to inform conservation efforts. This is especially useful for animals that migrate long distances or that are difficult to locate. Smart collars have made it possible for conservationists to learn about the migratory patterns of animals that were never before tracked, such as the African forest elephant. Another application of smart collars is in monitoring an animal's health. Some collars are equipped with sensors that can collect data on a variety of health metrics, such as heart rate, respiration, and activity levels. This data can be used to identify animals that are sick or injured, which can then be targeted for treatment. This is especially important for animals that are already endangered, as it allows conservationists to focus their limited resources on those who need it most. Smart collars have already been used to identify sick or injured animals in a number of species, including polar bears, African forest elephants, and California condors. Perhaps the most exciting application of smart collars is in the area of anti-poaching. Some collars are equipped with sensors that can detect when an animal has been shot at. If a shot is detected, the collar can transmit the location of the animal to rangers, allowing them to quickly locate the poachers and apprehend them. This technology has already been used to stop poachers in its tracks, saving countless animals from being killed illegally. The ability to gather all of this data has led to a number of other benefits for conservationists. For example, they can use it to estimate population sizes, track the spread of diseases, and monitor the effectiveness of conservation programs. In short, smart collars are a versatile tool that can be used to address a wide range of conservation challenges. As the technology continues to develop, we can expect even more applications to be found. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and comment with your ideas of what we should cover in the next one. Thanks for watching.